What's good everyone, I'm Zayas, and today I'm here to review Mazinger Z. This was near the beginning of when Nagai went through an incredible 10 years making some of the most groundbreaking manga in history. Before this, he had just created the first ecchi manga to ever exist. He had also made Mao Dante beforehand, which kind of set up for Devilman and Violence Jack. Those two being my favorites by Nagai by far. And don't believe the critics on Mal about Violence Jack. There's no way it's a 6.9. Devilman got a pretty incredible anime adaptation a few years ago. So if that was your style, you might want to go check out Violence Jack, as it's the direct sequel to that manga. And it's crazy to think how many different genres this guy invented within such a short time span. He made the ecchi genre, which was hugely controversial back then. He made the mecha genre with Mazinger Z, which before this we only had Astro Boy and a few other robot manga. And then he went on to make post-apocalyptic series. Violence Jack and Devilman still inspire a ton of different post-apocalyptic series today and most desert settings. And then afterwards he went on to make Magical Girls. Needless to say, this guy was incredibly innovative and provided an absurd amount of material to the manga medium. A lot of his slapstick style and gags still stick around today, and a lot of authors use similar styles of comedy. Gen Urobuchi, the writer for Fate Zero along with Psycho-Pass, said that he was influenced by Devilman's ending, along with great producers like Anno, who said that Evangelion was greatly influenced by Devilman along with Mazinger Z. And there's even great artists of manga such as Miura, RIP. He said that he was a big fan of Nagai works and enjoyed how dynamic a lot of his series were. If you're a writer in like magical girl mangas, ecchi manga, mecha manga, or post-apocalyptic manga, you have to at least know who this dude is. He's that big. Mazinger Z came around the same time as Devilman and had a pretty incredible idea behind it. It was about humans getting into these giant robots to fight other humans in giant robots. Nowadays, you tell anyone that and they'll tell you, oh yeah, that's a mecha. But back then, this is literally how the idea came into fruition. You can consider Nagai the grandfather of manga pretty much. He was one of the founding fathers who created tons of ideas. But if you were to look even higher on the totem pole, you'd find Osamu Tezuka. And this guy's influence in Mazinger Z and a lot of Nagai works was pretty prevalent. You could easily recognize Osamu's artwork in pretty much any and every work put out in the 60s and 70s. Everybody used a very similar art style to Osamu. And that's one of Mazinger Z's biggest weaknesses. If you've read any series around this time period, you'll know what the main character looks like and what the side characters look like. They all look the same. They all have this Disney-like, cartoonish sort of face. It is very inspired by Disney and Astro Boy and those sort of works. And it has all the same mad scientists, evil villains, invincible protagonist, all that stuff. But once you get through this, you get to the mechas themselves. And the mecha element of this manga is what makes it so interesting. The mechas are these huge, hulking beasts who feel like they have a lot of mass behind them. There's a huge variety of mechas, all having different abilities and designs. A lot of the abilities of Mazinger Z itself is now iconic in manga. You'll have a lot of these things such as the power fist, which comes out of the Mazinger's hand. You'll have the fire, which comes out of the mecha's chest. You'll have the photon eyes, where the mecha will just look at something and it'll disintegrate. And a lot of these staples are still around today in tons of mechas. The action in this series is likely the best part. It feels fast-paced while also being dynamic and free-flowing. And all the while, it's super easy to follow and the scenes are pretty great. It is a little off-putting knowing that the protagonist is gonna win at times, but it can be interesting seeing him get into different scenarios with his friends being captured or him having to get to his mecha to win. The episodic or chapter-by-chapter style of this manga can sometimes be pretty great, but at other times it can be a little bit of a turnoff. In particular, it's mostly a problem when the mecha enemy doesn't get enough time on screen to really get associated with it, so it just sort of fades into oblivion. The characters, again, are pretty Disney-like. They're very straightforward in their ambitions and ideas, But there's some cool ideas in some of these characters. I like the Baron with the detachable head, and some of the enemies looked pretty cool. You are certainly not going to find any super deep or well written characters in this series, however. His comedy is his signature style, which I enjoyed. It's not the most hilarious stuff ever, but it's a lot of meta stuff, and it could be a nice change of pace from all the action going on. If you get to the end of this series, you'll notice that the series is unfinished for the most part, and the last few chapters, it seems as if the chapters are super low effort and there's not much attention being given to the story at all. I think this is because Nagai Go decided that he wanted to work on Getter Robo, which was a much more polished and refined version of Mazinger Z, with a lot of the same ideas but just delivered a lot better. Although unfinished, there's still some pretty great stuff in here. The action scenes are incredible, and the ideas presented in this manga are very forward-thinking and innovative. The characters and the plot certainly lacked, but that's not what this series was really about. If you're interested in the history of manga or anything like that, I would certainly give this a read. It's very short. I'm feeling a strong 6 to a light 7. Thank you everyone for watching. Please leave a like if you want to see me do more reviews. Leave a comment on what you thought about this series or any of your other favorite series you want me to review. Thank you, and I'll see you guys later.